Welcome to The Explainer. Look, if you live in the UK, you know the exact, incredibly specific pain of bruised hips and stubbed toes from trying to squeeze past a dining table that is just a little too big for the room. Sometimes it feels like you spend half of dinner apologizing to a piece of furniture. Small dining rooms are honestly one of the great British interior challenges. Whether you're trying to carve out a dining zone in a modern new build, which are famously some of the most compact in Europe, or you're working with a notoriously narrow Victorian terraced house, getting your dining table right is an absolute game changer. Today, we're going to look at the ultimate solution for cramped dining spaces. Okay, let's dive into this.
Here is what we're going over today. The small space dilemma, getting the dimensions right, choosing the best space, materials for small rooms, and finally, the extending table secret.
Starting with Section 1, the small space dilemma, let's talk about overcoming the cramped UK dining room.
So, struggling to fit a dining table into your home? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. Over the last few years, open-plan living has actually started to give way back to more considered room-specific designs. We're calling it broken-plan living. And as people put the walls back up, they are quickly realizing their massive, fixed rectangular tables just do not work anymore. An oversized table completely dominates the room, it creates these frustrating bottlenecks, turns a relaxing dinner into a physical obstacle course, and essentially dictates how you move through your own home. The shape of your table matters far more than most people realize when every single square meter counts.
The source material actually hits the nail on the head here. It says a round table is not simply a stylistic choice. It is often the most practical one. And why is that? Well, it literally eliminates corners. Taking away those sharp corners visually softens the space, so the room looks way less imposing and boxy. But more importantly, it physically improves the flow. You aren't navigating around jagged edges anymore. Plus, you can seat guests far more flexibly than you ever could with a rigid rectangular table. You can easily squeeze an extra chair in without someone having to awkwardly straddle a sharp corner. It's a psychological space saver just as much as a physical one.
Moving on to Section 2, getting the dimensions right. Let's look at the spatial math of round tables.
The crucial starting point is the size of the tabletop itself. For a typical small UK dining room, say around 2.5 by 3 meters, a round table with a diameter of 90 to 110 centimeters is your absolute sweet spot. A 90-centimeter round table will seat 4 adults really comfortably. It feels intimate but highly functional. Now, if you've got a kitchen diner setup where one side of the table can sit a bit closer to a wall or a kitchen island, you can sometimes push that up to 110 centimeters. That gives you just a little bit of extra elbow room for a big Sunday roast. But this 90 to 110 range is exactly where you want to be to seat 4 without overwhelming the room.
But wait, the tabletop is really only half the equation. You have to consider the empty space around the table. You absolutely must leave at least 75 to 90 centimeters of clearance between the table edge and any wall or piece of furniture. If you don't leave this gap, your guests literally won't be able to pull their chairs out to sit down. Think about the mid-meal logistics. Anyone trying to squeeze behind a seated guest to go to the kitchen to grab the ketchup is going to have a very awkward time. This 75 to 90 centimeter clearance is completely non-negotiable for comfortable movement.
So how do you guarantee it fits before you ever enter your credit card details? Well, here is a super practical step-by-step process. First, measure your room's full length and width. Don't guess. Get the tape measure out. Next, use masking tape or some old newspaper to mark a rough circle on your floor, representing the 90 or 100 centimeter table you want. Finally, measure out that 75 to 90 centimeter clearance zone on all sides. Walk around it, sit in a chair next to it, pretend to serve food. If the remaining area feels cramped now, the table is simply too large for your space.
And please, whatever you do, do not forget the spatial traps. These are the things people constantly forget when measuring an empty room. Radiators sticking out from the wall, for example. There's nothing worse than pushing your chair back after a nice meal and immediately slamming into a hot radiator. Inward opening doorways need a completely clear swing path. Bay windows are gorgeous, but they have weird angles that can drastically alter where a table can practically sit. But honestly, the biggest offender? Bulky, upholstered dining chairs. Thick chairs can easily add 20 to 30 centimeters of depth on each side, instantly ruining your careful measurements. Definitely consider slimmer chairs or even a bench on one side to save precious floor space.
All right, Section 3, choosing the best base. Let's uncover the structural secret to legroom.
Let's talk about knees. You generally have 2 choices for what holds the table up: pedestal bases or 4-leg bases. A pedestal base uses a single central column, and this is the ultimate hack for tight dining areas. It frees up floor and leg space, making them absolutely ideal because you can tuck your chairs all the way in when you aren't using them.
Plus, it's way easier to squeeze an extra person in without them awkwardly straddling a table leg. Four-leg bases can look great, especially with slim mid-century designs, but they inherently restrict movement in very compact rooms. If space is tight, a pedestal base is 100% your best friend.
Next up, Section 4, Materials for Small Rooms. We're looking at creating the illusion of space.
In British homes, we deal with significantly lower natural light levels for a large chunk of the year, so the surface finish you choose plays a massive role in how bright a room feels. Light-colored tops in white, oak, or a marble effect actually help a small room feel so much more open. White or off-white tops, particularly high-gloss ones, act almost like mirrors, bouncing that precious winter light around. Oak brings a beautiful, reliable warmth. Marble effect gives you incredible luxury without the maintenance nightmare of real stone. And tempered glass is amazing for visual space because it practically disappears. But you know, material choice affects practicality too, so definitely approach glass with caution if you have small children running around.
And if you're renting in the UK, your material choice is even more critical. Neutral finishes like white or light oak are seriously the smartest investment you can make. Why? Because you never know what color the walls will be in your next flat. A light oak table looks just as stunning against pale gray walls as it does against sage green or warm white. It gives you maximum versatility across completely different decorating schemes, meaning you won't need to buy a brand new table every time your lease is up and you move.
And finally, Section 5, the Extending Table Secret. This is the flex option for entertaining.
An extending round table is essentially the have-your-cake-and-eat-it-too solution for small homes. Day-to-day, it acts as a compact 90 to 100 centimeter circle. It stays out of your way and keeps the room feeling spacious. But when you want to host a dinner party, a central mechanism expands the table to fit extra guests. For homes where space is at a premium, extending round tables offer total flexibility for entertaining without permanently taking up extra space. You don't have to live with a massive table taking over your room 365 days a year just so you can host Christmas dinner once. A quick heads up from the source material, though. Pay super close attention to the extension mechanism. You want leaves that sit perfectly flush with the main top so the surface looks seamless. But even more importantly, you want a smooth, simple mechanism. If you are wrestling with a stiff, complicated, squeaky track every time you have friends over, it will quickly become a source of daily frustration. You should ideally be able to operate the extension smoothly by yourself with just one hand.
So there's the full blueprint. We know that a 90 to 110 centimeter round table seats 4 adults perfectly. We know pedestal bases free up floor space for your knees. Light colors like white and oak make the room feel open. You absolutely need that 75 to 90 centimeters of clearance, and extending tables offer the ultimate flexibility for entertaining. So, what do you think? Is it time to finally rethink your dining room shape? Grab that masking tape, mark out a circle on your floor today, and just see how much space you could be getting back. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy measuring.